Hello and welcome to week number 2 of the Saturday Morning Huddle. Kenny Road alongside Billy Beebe getting you ready to recap everything that went down Friday night. We actually have a couple of games today, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, that we'll tell you about that will be taking place in Stark County. But Billy, what a great week number 2. We had a phenomenal game, Northwest hosting Marlington. It was a one-score game last year. It ended up being a one-score game this year. Northwest gets the win 22-14. Isaac LaFay, he's a three-way player for the Indians. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, and he kicks for them. He's going to join us a little bit later on in the show at 11 o'clock to talk about that big win, and they have a big game next week against Louisville. And the food, I am still full from the food, and we'll show some photos of how the Northwest Touchdown Club took care of us. The boosters do it each and every year. I'm still full from what we ate there yesterday. So a great night for the radio crew of Dan Belford, Mark Miller, Denny Kincaid, and yours truly on WHBC Radio and Mix 94.1. What about your streaming game? Dude, there was I guess defense was optional last night or what?
Yeah, defense when you need it towards the end. We knew whoever got the last stop would win. Green and North Olmsted in a shootout. I think that's the most points I've ever seen in a game I've done in 6 years doing high school football. 51-41 the final. I followed Green as they went through that Final Four run last year, Kenny. We made sure we wanted to go out there and check those guys out this year. It was tremendous. A big game. They throw all night. I think they only rushed the ball because they had to kill clock at the end. Other than that, their quarterback, Robbie Klockner, threw 50 times.
Holy cow. Wow. And Mark Geist, their head coach, is going to join us a little later in the show as well. Also, our TV game last night, the Alt Care TV game, Frank Salona, Derek Philo, Coach Elmer Sheets, Bob Jeffries. Louisville, unfortunately, comes up on the short end. They're now 0-2. They lose to Poland Seminary 21-10. And so we'll see if the Leopards can bounce back next week against Northwest, or if Northwest gets off to a 3-0 start. But a lot of great games last night. And do we have our first guest ready to rock and roll, Billy? Or are we still waiting on Coach Linda Smith? Because I know he's in film study right now. He said he'd pop out of film study to join us. So as soon as you see him pop out of film study, you let me know, and I'll remind everybody about our schedule of guests for today. Jeff Linda Smith's going to be our leadoff guy here very shortly. Central, an exciting big first win of the season last night over Norwayne, 36-35. He's coming up in a few minutes. We mentioned Mark Geist, the head coach of Green, will join us at 10:35 to talk about their 2-0 start. Tim Goodman from Alliance, they get their first win of the season last night. Tim's going to join us at 10:45 today. As we mentioned, Isaac LaFay, the offensive lineman, defensive lineman, kicker for Northwest. They're 2-0. He'll join us at 11 a.m. And another 2-0 team, and boy, impressive. I think it was 35-0 last night. Dan DeGeorge and the Lake Blue Streaks get it done, and he'll join us at 11:15 a.m. To talk about a 2-0 start. But let's go to the man who rolled the dice last night, okay? It was a close game. It was nip and tuck. It was back and forth. And Jeff Linda Smith joins us right now here on the Saturday Morning Huddle. Coach, thanks for making time for us. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. Appreciate being on.
Hey, thanks. Jumping out of film study for a few minutes to give us a few minutes, Coach. And I want to go right down to it, Coach. And we'll talk about some of the individual players, but you're trailing late in the game. You get the touchdown on an Alex Anderson run with about 30 seconds to go in the game. Take me through your mindset there of going for 2 in the win, and you guys eventually get it done.
Yeah, I think the drive started about minute 48, down 7. And, the whole drive, you don't want to get ahead of it. But we got a couple of big plays, and, that game's just back and forth. And I always think, and we work a lot in the summer on 2-point conversions. We work a period every Wednesday on 2-point conversions. And just my mindset is this: at certain times, you got 3 yards, guys. You want one play to win the game? I'll take that anytime. And I know probably maybe the odds aren't very good. I've had people tell me maybe it's better to go to overtime. But I just think you work so hard and you're in a battle and you got 3 yards, one play to win it. I'll take it anytime.
Coach, I was at a similar game to yours last night, kind of a shootout towards the end, a lot of points being scored. Is it the defense you talk more to, or the offense in a locked-in game like that?
Well, I do a lot of talking as the game goes on at both sides, all three phases, and even my buddies in the stripes, I do some talking to. But we knew we were going to be in a shootout just because of Norway and their offense. They returned everybody from last year. They're skilled kids. Their quarterback is really, really good, good speed. We really wanted to try to control him, and we did at times. He made some big plays on us, but we talked to our defense probably a little bit more than our offense and try to make them earn some things. And we eliminated their big plays, but both teams had such great long drives throughout the game that it was just an incredible game to be a part of.
Jeff Trucker Lindesmith joining us here on the Saturday Morning Huddle. They get their first win of the season, 36-35 on the road at Norway. Trucker at Perry, at Norway. Boy, you talk about a barometer right out of the gate the first 2 weeks to find out what your team's all about. Two tough opponents, you split them. What have you learned about your team in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think we made a step forward from week 1 to week 2. I think we had to make some adjustments defensively. You're going to say, well, geez, you gave up 35 points, but we did some things a lot better. Our angles were there. I thought our pursuit, I thought some things we did better than we did at Perry. We were a little bit more physical. Perry taught us a little bit of physical battle, especially on their offensive line to our defense. It doesn't get any easier. We'll probably play arguably the best team on our schedule next week in South Range, and just a great program that a lot of people around here don't know too much about, but we've played them for years. They could have been in the state finals probably the last 3 years if it wasn't for New Middletown Springfield. And that great quarterback they had last year. So
right.
It gets harder and harder every week, but that's fun. We went to work this morning at 7 and got things cleaned up by about 1 a.m. here in the locker room, and off we went. So it's fun that way. But, I think we got better. And our big focus as a coaching staff was to take a big step forward from where we were week 1 to week 2. I thought at Perry we were pretty good offensively at times. The fourth quarter, we did not execute as well, and our kids realized they kind of rushed things a little bit. Everybody talks about Jack Talkington, our quarterback. He'll be the first one to tell you he missed some passes in the fourth quarter at Perry. He did some things that he doesn't usually do, but it's really the first year he's playing both ways, and that takes its toll mentally at times, and especially when you're a quarterback. And he had some big throws last night. He played such a consistent game. Both sides, especially in the fourth quarter when we needed him.
Billy, let me jump in real quick on the 2-point conversion, Coach. Did you have that play? Was that number one on your list? If you were going to go for 2 at any point in the game, is that the game winner that you felt the most confident with, giving the ball to Jack?
You better believe it. We have 3. We have 3 plays that we've worked on since July, and that was probably the first one that I liked. We worked on it Thursday. We just run it a few times to give them a couple different wrinkles that we may see defensively, and we saw exactly what we wanted. They thinned out. They didn't necessarily. We gave him a tight end, and Jack sees a seam. I mean, he's a load. So, if he has a gap, he has a guy in front of him blocking. Usually it's pretty good. But, we knew exactly what we were going to do.
Coach, we kind of heard from a couple different coaches last week talk about week 1, how important week 1 is. How well do you think your team put away the loss and headed into this week?
I think pretty well. We really try to focus on maturity. I mean, we're watching film right now. We just got done working out, and we'll do a little period where we'll talk, and it will be over. We'll close our eyes. We'll focus a little bit on what we just saw in South Range, and you got to be mature enough every week to move on. You learn from your wins, hopefully, and you will learn from your losses. We did not do a very good job last year. We had some kids return after wins last year. We did not do a very good job letting that game go. It's nice to get patted on the back every once in a while, and it's good to go. But people don't understand. We say by come Sunday evening, we have everything out to our kids and what they need to do. It's time to refocus, and I don't think we did a very good job of refocusing. And I have a meeting here in a half hour with this team, and we'll talk exactly about that, Billy, for sure.
A little bit more about Jack Talkington, if you will, Coach. Over 300 total offensive yards, a couple of rushing touchdowns, the big 2-point conversion. As you said, so much on his plate, right? You're relying on him so much, especially at a small school too, right? So what makes him, besides being 6'2", 220 and a senior, What makes him a special player for you?
He studies the game and he loves the game. Plays with great passion. A lot of people like to play hard and go out there, but you got to have something from the heart, and he does that. He's incredible that way. Understands his mistakes right after plays. He's got enough experience to understand what he did maybe wrong and try to correct it. He did a lot of things. He was one of our leading tacklers last night. I think he had 8 solos and 4 assists. He punted also last night one time for 40 yards. So I asked somebody after the game, does that count on his fantasy points when he punts? But nobody seemed to know. But he does a lot of things. And you mentioned it. We got to be smart. We get him out of times in the game, but we don't have talents like that come through our school, very often. And that's any school. And you're talking about a Division I athlete that does so many things that you kind of think you're crazy getting him off the field because he makes so many plays. But we were a little bit better last night with some rotations. We got another linebacker back that was hurt week 1, so that will help us get him off the field a little bit as the year goes on.
Yeah, Coach, you talk a lot about – we talked Jack and we've talked about what you guys kind of did late. Are there some other factors from specific players that you thought played into it last night?
Absolutely. We did some things, offensive line, like T.J. Perkins had a big night last night, and we did some things with him where we not necessarily gap down or base blocked. He arced and got into the secondary on the second level a lot for us last night on some of our reads. We readjusted some blocking schemes on the outside with their defense, and we thought T.J. did a really, really good job for us. Jimmy Kane on the outside had some really big catches. We got our jet motion going with Danny Boron and Jack Hopkins, and their overall speed. They can run. They're not burners. I mean, we're not talking 4.4 kids, but they're 4.6 kids. And they made some really big cuts for us, made some really big first downs for us. And I think there was only 2 punts in the whole game last night. People were going for it on 4th down. We're at midfield, and, you got 4 or 5 yards. We were going for it. And both teams were just saying, let's play some football and go. So
more fun that way.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You're right. And I don't know how many coaches like to punt, but obviously you want to change the field at times. But we just put those offenses on and let them fly. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Hey, Truck, congrats on the first win of the season. Get back to film study, and we'll talk to you again soon, either here on the Saturday Morning Huddle or on the Kenny and JT Show, all right?
Yep, I appreciate it, guys. Have a great day.
All right, there he is, the head coach from the battling, what's JT? No, the fighting, is he calling the Fighting Crusade? JT, he comes up with his own term. I think they're the Fighting Crusaders of Canton Central Catholic and Jeff Lindesmith. A big win for them after a 51-28 loss at Perry. And then you go on the road to Norwayne. And as he mentioned, I'm looking at their schedule, Billy. South Range at home. They finally get a home game, South Range next week. Then they're at Salem. They've got Alliance at home, who got their first win yesterday, at Lutheran East, Menor Lake Catholic, East Liverpool, Jackson, St. Thomas, the rivalry matchup to end the season. So they play a daunting schedule, but he figures that if they can get through that schedule with the experience they gain, the tough battles that they played in, and if they can stay healthy come playoff time, they can make a deep run. So we'll see if it works out for Coach Lindesmith this year. Yeah,
well, that's why I really wanted to ask him, Kenny. Week 1, how well did you guys put it away? Did you feel like you kind of put that game away quick? Because you will play a team like Perry of that talent level multiple times this year. And if you take a loss when you thought you might win or when you thought you really prepared well, when your guys thought you were going to win, can they bounce back the next week? I think we saw right there, that's a team that could have said, man, we already lost. Now we're locked in this battle in a game we thought we might be up a touchdown or two. We're not punting. It's this close, that close. They find a way to get it done. Hopefully they can take that momentum the right way the rest of the season, because we love a good a close game towards the end. And like some of our coaches told us last week, a win's a win by 10 touchdowns or 1 touchdown.
Absolutely. The scores from week 2 are scrolling across the bottom of your screen right there. So see what your team did last night. And Billy, let's talk about some of those games that maybe we didn't do. We'll get into the deets, I guess, as far as we know. I thought McKinley was going to play a close game with Fitch. I don't have a lot of deets about them. All I know is 38-14 McKinley on the road. Again, tough schedule to start, right? At Menor, at Fitch. They lose. They're off to an 0-2 start. And next up for McKinley, we're going to do the game. It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame radio game of the week next week on WHBC, Dublin Kaufman. So last year they started 0-2. They were able to turn it around under first-year head coach Antonio Hall. We're going to see if Coach Hall can do it again this year after an 0-2 start.
Well, I was kind of keeping my eye on that game as mine was going on, Kenny, and I saw about a touchdown per half for the Bulldogs. So you say to yourself, how long does your defense want to hit the field again without the offense scoring? You don't want to put blame on one side of the ball, but that's always been a thing for me as a fan of football and somebody that's broadcasted games. You can see the defense eventually does not want to go back out there after their offense hasn't scored once again. So McKinley, I think the pressure is going to fall on that offense.
So we'll see if they can bounce it back and get a win next week, and we'll have the game for you on WHBC Radio and Mix 94.1. And always streaming at WHBCsports.com along with the other streaming game. You have options to pick from there. Massillon, it was interesting. Rick Worstel, who does the Alt Care Stadium show with me, right? 1981 state championship quarterback for the Bulldogs. We were talking about Glen Oak and Massillon. And Glen Oak with a big win, put up 51 points in the week one win. Massillon played a very good, maybe one of the best teams in the state in their week one game, and that was a loss at home to Moeller. How would both teams respond in week number two? And did we get a good sense of what each team was about in week one? Well, Glen Oak, I thought they would play for a half with Massillon, and then Massillon would pull away. And from what I understand, that's pretty much what happened. Wiltrell Hartson, another big game. He was our player of the week last week. So he racked up the yards, scored touchdowns on the ground, and 35-7 was the final. Massillon wins it over Glen Oak. And if you're Coach Scotty Garcia, it gives you an idea, right? Massillon's considered one of the better teams in Stark County this year. And it gives you an idea of how far away you are from maybe being the best. And, okay, you played with them for a half or whatever it was. Something to build on, take the positives out of it, but also try and correct the negatives.
No doubt. I think it's going to be tough for Glen Oak. You talked about, Kenny, year two, Scott Garcia trying to get that program back on track. They get a huge week one win, 51 points. Then you head to week two. You knew you were kind of dealing with the bear or tiger of Massillon. And next thing you know, you almost have 51 points put up on you. It's got to be tough for them right now to gauge where they're at. Like you said, you kind of have such a difficult opponent in week two compared to your big win in week one. Glen Oak, I think, is a team we're going to keep our eye on and really watch to see where that program is when they get maybe into a little bit more of a middle ground with their opponents.
All right, roll some of the other scores on the bottom of the screen there so we get all the games in for everybody. They want to check how their team did last night. You can see them there. The next one I want to talk about, I just see it scrolling across. Mansfield 42, Hoover 9. This was a close game, I guess, in the second half. Even in the fourth quarter, it was a two-score game in the fourth quarter, 21-9, and then Mansfield pulled away. Hoover with a big week one win. Again, they were a team we wanted to see, Rick and I, how would they respond in week two, right? Lost a lot of kids to graduation, but had an impressive win in week number one. Coach Baum and the kids taking on a very good Mansfield team, and I want to make sure I get this right looking. And by the way, you can get these fantastic pocket schedules. We take them with us everywhere we go. Stop by the radio station, WHBC 550 Market Avenue South. Pick up your pocket schedules for every team, and that's what comes in handy. And this one was a road game. So they beat Bookta last week. They come back. They're on the road at Mansfield. They lose 42-9. And so, again, good week one win, but a better team, good barometer check for you. And now you know you've got some work to do, and not surprising to me because of how many kids they graduated from that Federal League Championship team of a year ago, and some young players taking on new roles.
Well, certainly a defensive team last year with Drew Logan and Mike Shimmick creating a ton of pressure. We talked about it. They were 61 points to only giving up 7 in their final 3 weeks, and that includes games against Jackson and McKinley. However, you head into this year, I did their game last week, Kenny. They looked like an offensive team. They were throwing the ball when you thought they'd be running it. They were passing all over Bookdale. They were running the ball well. So I kind of said, I'm going to keep my eye on if this team holds things up on offense. Doesn't look like they did so. However, you talked about it was a close game, close enough heading into the fourth quarter. So you feel like that defense might be better than we thought it was after week one. Again, another team looking to find, okay, week one was great. Week two, not as good. Where's the middle ground for the Hoover Vikings?
Yeah, we're going to find out. We look at them, Hoover next week.
And they're fun. I'll say that, though. They're one of those teams that's fun to watch. Both sides.
Kenmore Garfield is who they have. They've got 3 home games in a row. They've got Kenmore Garfield. I'll be honest, don't know a lot about them, okay? They've got Louisville after that. They'll be favored in that. That's a home game. And then a really good matchup in the Federal League against Glen Oak. So 3 home games in a row for Coach Brian Baum. Luke Roach, nearly 80 yards rushing last night. Carson Dryland, the quarterback, had a so-so game. Didn't throw for 100 yards. 5 of 10 passing in. I think it was Luke Regulio who scored the only touchdown for them in the loss. So, and they gave up a punt return too, which, hey, early on, one thing I've noticed early on this year, kick returns, punt returns, special teams, explosive plays all over the place. We had one in our game last night with Northwest as they were dominating the game, and the only way Marlington got back in it was an 80-yard kickoff return. So special teams, I know coaches say they spend a lot of time on special teams. I think some teams need to spend a little bit more time on special teams so there's no leaks in the coverage because guys are running them back at a record pace early in this season.
Yeah, I mean, if I can jump into my game at that point then, Kenny, Green and North Olmsted, from the beginning kick, Eric Snell, who was on the call with me last night, we did the math up until the fourth quarter. And again, it was a shootout, probably of about 8 kickoffs. I would say 1 did not start above the 35. So we saw squib kicks, weak kicks, easy returns, guys who would just catch it, look, and they'd already see their lane. Oh, man, I'm starting off at the 45. Green down 2 touchdowns heading into halftime. They scored twice in 2.5 minutes on touchdowns to tie it at 27. That was because, of course, they throw a lot. So they score quick. North Olmsted gets the ball back. They don't stop the clock. And then on a punt, they punt it high and about 15 yards out of bounds, which when you punt out of bounds, the refs are more than likely to give you great field positioning off. I believe it's where it hits in the air or some type of aspect
They've
like
got
that.
to look at the line of whatever they call it, the ball in the air, where it goes out of bounds based on their judgment. And you've got one guy running up the sideline, the other guy telling them when to stop, and that's where they mark it.
So essentially they're going to give you a nice, probably in my opinion, about 5 yards more than you thought you were going to get. So next thing you know, Green ties it at 27 because they're starting off again at the North Olmsted 25-yard line. You just talked about special teams is so big. Late in that game, I don't even know what the coaching tactic was for that, to just squib kick and let them start off at the 35. Maybe both teams really didn't have the kicker to put it high and away.
Or they were afraid of giving up the bigger play, the kickoff return. Last night in talking with John DeMarco this past week on the Kenny and JT show, in their opening win at Norton, they returned a kickoff. Northwest did for a touchdown last week. They kicked off, and then Norton returned that kickoff back. So you had 2 plays, 2 kick returns, 2 touchdowns. And we brought it up on the broadcast last night at Northwest, said, maybe both teams should be wary of the return game. And sure enough, it was 14-0, looking like a blowout for Northwest. They kick off, and boom. Right back the other way. Who was it? And we'll talk more about it later on. It was Bo Himmelheber, 82-yard kickoff return from Marlington, and it changed the outlook of that game for Marlington because they were getting blowed out, and all of a sudden they come back and tie it up at halftime. Now they did lose eventually to Northwest, but special teams got them back in the game, and it's such a huge factor. Punting, kicking, in the return game is huge these days.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 missed extra points in the first half for us, another one missed late, and then a field goal to seal it up for Green. So you talk about it, Kenny. Teams get nervous when they're missing kicks. They get nervous when they're giving up 2 large returns. North Olmsted starting – it was funny because Green went with a strategy, okay, if they squib it to us and it's not our main return man, we're dropping on the ground. We just want to take that good field position and take it. North Olmsted was the opposite. If they want to kick it to us, and it bounces at the 35, snag that bad boy and grab 10 yards. Special teams, definitely something to watch the rest of the season with not only kickoff and punt returns, but extra points. I think we can speak to, overtimes now, close games. One field goal, one extra point is going to matter late.
No question about it. Other games to talk about from last night. Jackson, the Jay Rohr era, opened up with a win in week 1. Well, now he knows what it feels like to lose as a head coach in high school football as his team falls to Mayfield. The final score there, 48-10. Not a lot of offense, obviously, for Jackson in that one. I was checking the little brief recap in the paper this morning. Jackson completed 1 of 16 pass attempts on the night. 1 of 16 and gained only 155 yards of total offense and 6 first downs. Luke Johnson with a 68-yard touchdown run for them. But Mayfield, a good football team. They're off to a 2-0 start. So you look at that and their quarterback, Rocco Monastero, good quarterback, almost threw for 300 yards, couple of touchdowns. Well, actually 4 touchdown passes. No interceptions. So a tough loss for Jackson, but you learn in losses. You find out, okay, let's see how we respond after a win. Let's see how we, play against an equal team to our talent or a better team than us. And so 48-10, a lot of film and a lot to correct in that one.
Definitely. We talk about teams finding their identity, figuring out what they want to do. They may make a game plan change for next week, Kenny. They may make another one by midway through the year and then the end of the year. Maybe they go completely that this is a Jason Davide offense and they're going to run the ball with Davide all the time. And you felt like their quarterback had a good week last week, but I wondered, I thought that seemed like a lot of passing for him last week. And maybe they're going to gear that down and go more run. And I know that's a quarterback that can run also. So maybe that becomes a full-on run offense. Maybe Coach Rohr knows, hey, that was just a tough opponent that went at our air attack. We're going to stick with our game plan.
We're going to talk to Dan DeGeorge from Lake. The Blue Streaks off to a 2-0 start. They beat Maple Heights last night, 35-0 in that one. Alliance gets back on the winning track as they take care of Niles McKinley, 55-28. Tim Goodman, you've got him locked up for a little bit later in the show, correct?
10:45, we'll have Coach Goodman on with us.
Yeah, so he'll tell us all about their first win of the season. Crestwood beat Minerva 28-0. Minerva now 0-2 to start the season. Fairless, AJ Sarbaugh, and the Falcons, flying high off to a 2-0 start after they take care of Tusky Valley 40-7. And so let's see, I'm going to do some quick math. 40-7, 31-0. That's easy. 71-7 in the first 2 games for AJ Sarbaugh and his Falcons, who had the best year in school history last year with 9 wins. Winning a league championship for the first time since 1979. And yesterday, hold on, where's my pocket schedule? I want to make sure on this one. Let's see. Fairless yesterday, ABC. Do the alphabet, Rhoda. There you go. Yes, it was a home game yesterday. So that meant after the game, 50-yard line, everybody joins hands. The cheerleaders, the band, the football players, the fans, the student section. They had Johnny Cash. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I'm going to stop right there. And they have a blast, man. I love the tradition and the culture that AJ is building there at Fairless.
Yeah, talking with, again, Eric Snell was on with me last night, Kenny. He was a running back for McKinley in the late 80s, early 90s. And I was talking to him, I said, man, what a great story Fairless is. I said, they've been tremendous. And I talked about they're scoring big again. They're playing hard defense. He goes, yeah, back then I couldn't have told you where Fairless was. And he goes, now I love it because I'm seeing this is one of the top Stark County teams. They're up there. They're competing. And definitely Coach Sarbaugh, one of those guys, helping those young players and using his seniors very well, kind of keep the momentum. A big year last year, Kenny, but they're doing it again this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep it going there in Fairless. Tuslaw, an exciting Double overtime win last week for Matt Gulling. They fall to Dalton. Final score there, 48-0. So Tuslaw 1-1. Sandy Valley, Brian Gamble and the guys get their first win over Manchester, 34-15. So congratulations to the Cardinals. East Canton off to an 0-2 start. Spider Miller and the boys need to get it turned around. Hopefully in week 3, they lose to United 55-21. St. Thomas Aquinas, they get blown out yesterday. Smithville 63, St. Thomas Aquinas nothing. And we'll talk more about the game you had here in a second with Green. 2 games today. Perry against Clarkson. Clarkson is a team from Ontario, Canada, and they play all comers in the United States. They've played IMG, I think both Saints in Cleveland, Iggy's, and Ed's. So Perry, a 1-0 record going into that game with their win last week over Central. They'll play at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium today at 2 p.m. if you want to go check that one out. And then Canton South had a rescheduling of a game, and Claymont is who they will host tonight at 7 p.m., and they're looking to get their first win of the season. So good luck to Matt Dennison, Poochie Snyder, and the Wildcats of Canton South tonight. We ready to bring in our next guest? Billy, go ahead, do it.
See you here. Coach, can you hear us?
Sure can. Hey, guys.
All right. We just can't see Coach, but that's all right. We can hear him fine.
Yeah, we can hear him. So we'll just talk to him here on the Saturday Morning Huddle. We appreciate that, Coach, very much. Congratulations on the win and a 2-0 start, Coach. Let's go there. 2 games in, 2-0. What's been the key coming off such a huge year last year to making sure you maintain, the winning record and you get off to a 2-0 start?
Yeah, we've had a lot of kids that we knew could play football that just maybe didn't get an opportunity to play a whole lot last year behind a great senior group. And really, it was the key to success has been taking care of the football the past 2 weeks. We've taken care of the football pretty well, given the opportunities for a lot of young guys to get out there and showcase their abilities. But we stayed pretty simple on both sides of the ball, and have allowed those kids to get out there and go play.
Coach, I want to talk about special teams. We mentioned it earlier in the show. Both teams last night, I was there broadcasting, getting great field positioning off the kickoff. What was going on there, and did you guys have a specific game plan for how you wanted to play the squib kicks and kickoffs?
Yeah, unfortunately, our kickoff team didn't do such a good job last night, and we immediately saw we had some errors to fix, and we just didn't like what we saw. So we immediately went to a squib kick situation, and I thought in the second half we did a lot better job, covering kicks. But obviously that's not our best effort in special teams.
Coach, such a huge year last year. State semifinals, back-to-back weeks. You knock off Hoover and Massillon, but you lose a lot of kids to graduation. Take me through your off season, if you will. Looking at your depth chart and trying to put this team together to maintain the momentum of the program from last year?
I think the first thing is that we love is those kids that did not get a chance to play last year. They played an extra 5-6 weeks versus one of the better rosters in the state, and they got to go up against great competition. So not only did we, it was fun playing with those seniors, but those young kids got a lot of reps. So going into the offseason, we felt like we had some young kids that could play, especially in our skill positions that could play. We knew that we've got to shore up some offensive and defensive line spots, but our offseason was pretty good. Obviously, we're going to continue to get stronger and better as the year goes on, and going into next year. You hate to look ahead, but we're very young. We've got a lot of guys who are going to be around for a while. But we tried not to look at depth charts for a while because that was a little intimidating, knowing how many guys you lose. But I felt like our young guys all offseason did a good job stepping up. So it was great to see the last 2 weeks that that hard work pays off.
Coach, talking about your offense, you let Robbie Klockner throw 50 times last night. I got to ask, are you throwing 50 times because you have Robbie, or was that a game plan that you thought you always wanted to kind of bring about this season?
Well, in our offense, we pride ourselves on one thing, is just take what the defense gives us. And we felt like there were opportunities for last night where we're not on a pitch count. We're not looking at how many times we're throwing it or running it. We're just calling what we think the defense is giving us. And there was multiple opportunities there last night where it just happens to be the right situation where we're going to throw the ball. And whether that's a 5-yard hitch or we have a good look to where we're throwing it behind the defense, we felt like that was just our best chance to win last night, was just to keep throwing it.
And also to keep throwing it to the bag man, as we're going to call him, Zach Baglia, 13 catches, 277 yards, 4 scores last night, Coach. Was that in the initial game plan, or was that, okay, they can't stop him, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
Yeah. Well, we knew Zach has a lot of ability going into the – he's a starter last year, played 15 weeks, probably overshadowed just by the nature of a guy like Trey Martin and Jack Shaw playing and Quinn Simmer. But we knew what we had in Zach. And again, we pride ourselves on taking what the defense is giving us, and we got some really good looks in key situations to where we know with Zach's speed, he can win a lot of times, one-on-one situations. So, but like you said, 13 catches is a lot. 277 yards, I believe, is a new school record for us that breaks Trey's from last year. A special night for him, but not surprised in the fact that we know he has a lot of ability.
And he is, by the way, our WHBC High School Football Player of the Week this week, deservedly so. I wish I had him in my high school fantasy league. I'd have won my game for sure yesterday, Coach.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, he'll enjoy hearing that. That's awesome.
All right, Coach, let's talk about what put a bigger smile on your face last night, okay? 2 touchdowns in 2.5 minutes to close out the first half and tie it, or a big 51-point performance on the scoreboard?
I would say answer is C. When it was double zeros on the clock. That was an exhausting football game. But yeah, the end of the half, I thought there was a key situation at the end of the first half where I think we went 3 and out. We're looking at a situation where we might go down 3 scores, and all of a sudden we find ourselves within a minute 45 going 2 scores and getting this thing back to within reach. And I was so proud of our kids because, you know, we're so young, and you find out who your kids are and their attitudes. We were down 2 scores twice and almost 3 scores, and I thought our resiliency was tremendous for a young group of kids.
And I want to ask you, Coach, when you're in such a tight game, when you're going back and forth, for you, is it the offense you're concerned about, or you really want the defense to get that final stop?
Well, I trust our defensive staff, and they were making adjustments, and I actually stay off that side of the ball primarily during a game. I might click over here and there to make a suggestion, but I have to worry about what my job is. It's the same thing we were preaching to our kids. So, you know, we're just controlling what we can control, and that's getting these guys to play some offense. And unfortunately, you get in a shootout, and your defense may be struggling, but if you're in that shootout, you better score points. So got to stick to what we do.
Your quarterback, Coach, it was a battle to win this job after replacing Trevor Van Horn. What was it about Robbie that made you decide he's our guy, and he's obviously rewarded you so far with a 2-0 start and a huge game last night?
Yeah, I really like Robbie's leadership and his ability to talk with the kids and understand the offense. He's a very smart kid. And like we said, it's not just, you know, go back there and try to wing it deep. It's taking what the defense is giving you, and we feel like he understands that pretty well. And also, the opportunity for him to be a quarterback means we get Samino Manson, who was the other kid battling that spot out. We get to have him at receiver, and we think he does some great things for us at receiver as well. So it's really, you know, what makes the team the best, and obviously that's working out so far. But we really like what Robbie gives us as far as his intangibles at this point.
And also, Coach, Antonio Martin. I know last year you guys really didn't want to play him varsity, but he ended up getting a lot of playing time alongside his brother Trey. How much has that helped him for this season as he had a couple of touchdowns in the game as well?
Yeah, and he's showing his maturity as well. He's, you know, only a sophomore. He's in his 16th or 17th game he's played in his career already. I mean, it's crazy to think, but you know, he's almost a junior basically, because that's almost 2 full seasons of football there. So he's starting to mature, and he's understanding the game, and some leadership is starting to come out of Antonio as well. So for a sophomore, pleasure to have him, and it's great to see some leadership coming out in crucial times.
Coach, we've talked a ton about how much you guys have thrown the ball. Now, last night you got 81 degrees, the sun's out, a little bit of perfect kind of cloud cover. When the weather changes, when we get down to the 40, 45 degree, 50 days, when it's cold and there's a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, do you think we're still going to see the air attack as much?
Well, you know, you like to think that you're never going to get bad weather, but we know that there's no way in Ohio you're going to go through a whole season with that weather we had last night. I know as a play caller and as the head coach, we're going to have to develop our run game. We've got to get better up front, and we've got to develop a little more consistency inside the tackles. But when it comes down to it, we trust our guys to run this offense, and no matter what the weather. I think there was multiple times last year in some really, really, really cold atmospheres. And we still, did a good job offensively.
Coach, we appreciate the time this morning. Congratulations on last night's win. Congratulations on the 2-0 start. And nothing but the best. And also, let it be known to Mr. Baglia, he's our player of the week this week. All right.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having us on, and we really appreciate your support.
All right, there is the head coach for the Green Bulldogs, Mark Geist, checking in with us here on the Saturday Morning Huddle, and we continue with head coaches making an appearance here on the Week 2 edition of the Saturday Morning Huddle. We welcome in the head coach for the Alliance Aviators, who picked up their big win last night, first win of the season, I should say, and happy to have with us right now Tim Goodman, the head coach at Alliance. Coach, thanks for joining us here this morning on the Saturday Morning Huddle. Congrats on the first win last night. A good bounce back from a tough loss in Week 1 against a very good Lake team, as we know. How was practice all week, and how were you able to get your guys to respond and bounce back and get the win this week?
Yeah, we had a really good week of practice. Our kids knew the challenge we were up against with Lake. I think they proved themselves again this week with a great win against Maple Heights. So we knew the challenge we had. We thought we played them pretty tough. We thought, we were right there with them the first half, then kind of let it slip away in the second half. So we knew we were on the cusp of some good things here. And I was really proud with how they responded starting Saturday morning and then into the week. And they were really prepared and ready to go. And when that kickoff happened last night at 7:00, we never really looked back.
Coach, you're in your second year. What do you feel like you did different this offseason to kind of get things a little different and kind of put your stamp on the team?
Yeah, I mean, I actually had an offseason with the guys because I got hired at the end of May last year. So it's kind of hit the ground running when I came in. So we were in the weight room. I think that was the biggest thing is we got a lot stronger in the weight room. That was one thing I thought we lacked in my first year. We weren't really very weight room strong. So we had a great offseason in the weight room. Guys were showing up consistently. Our in-sport athletes lifted as well. And then those guys got a lot more athletic in those other sports. We had a really good track program last year, and our speed is showing on the field right now. So I just thought we had a really good offseason from that standpoint. And then, like you said, that implementation of the culture and our expectations is really starting to take shape, and it's coming into fruition. So those two things I think has been the big change from year 1 to year 2.
You've got a couple of top offensive players in Stark County this year, in your quarterback, Brendan Zerberg, and Caden Davis. So how much fun is it to have those weapons at your disposal, Coach? Because you and I crossed paths with the All-Star game, and you were calling plays for the one side in the All-Star game. So I'm guessing you're excited about calling plays with these two guys, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And the thing that's nice about it is you have the ability to win games different ways. I think if you look at our Lake stat line, Brendan really carried the team. He threw for over 200, ran for 100 because we knew we were going to be up against it in the box. And then, last night, Caden ran for over 200 yards, and Brendan still had a good game. He threw for 160 yards, but, he was kind of more handing it off. So it's nice because it gives us that flexibility that we can, attack a team differently. And then beyond that, we have Brendan and Caden demand the headlines, but we got all four starting receivers back, and we got a lot of experience back up front. So having that experience, and that's something, from year 1 to year 2, having those guys back that understand the system better has been a lot of fun.
Coach, week 1 to week 2, you talked about the players on your offense. You go from your score being in the teens to way up there towards the 50s. What changed? Is there a simple answer for what happened?
Yeah, we finished drives. I mean, if you look at the late game, we moved the ball. We got up and down the field, but we would stall out. And that was a big challenge to our guys. Hey, finish drives. And we did that. And that I think, we had 42 in the first half and then come out in the second half and capped it off. So I think that was the simple answers. We just finished in the end zone last night.
All right, what about defensively, Coach? You go from giving up 41, and again, Lake's a very good team, as we're finding out. They're 2-0, so it's a good early test for you. But you go from giving up 41 to 28, making strides there. Where was the change, I guess, seen there?
Yeah, I think we just won the line of scrimmage. I think that was the biggest change, is that our defensive line played a really, really good job. We were able to, we did pretty well against the run, and then we were able to get some pressure on the quarterback. We didn't do a good enough job versus Lake getting any pressure on their cues, and both those guys torched us. So we did a better job up front in those two aspects, and then we did a better job getting guys on the ground. We had a lot of missed tackles versus Lake. We had some last night, but we really reined it in towards the end of the first half and into the second half. So I think those two things were the big improvement defensively.
Talking about offense, talking about defense, you're kind of switching week to week at this point off the loss and the win. Do you guys feel like you're an offensive team, or do you feel like a defensive team?
I think we have the potential to be both. I mean, obviously we have the experience and the headliners on offense, but I think defensively we're starting to see some guys step up. I'm really impressed so far with that. Adam Zumbar, our middle linebacker, and Jackson Eddy, our other linebacker, a really good game. We have 3 of our 4 guys back in the secondary, so we rely on them pretty heavily. I mean, De'Avion Jones, who was a first-team All-ABC kid last year, is really, teams try him once or twice and they just go away from him because he is a true shutdown corner. So I think we have the potential to be both. Obviously, we got to get better at tackling, but I like the potential there. And, I mean, as you said, we have the headliners on offense. We have the experience on offense that we should be able to put up some points this year as well.
All right. How quickly have you, maybe you haven't, but if you have, how quickly did you turn the page to Bedford?
Oh, we turned it already. We just got done watching film not too long ago, and we got to get on to Bedford. And that's what we tell our guys. We're 1-1. We haven't won anything yet. So we got to get ready for Bedford. We know they're going to have some athletes. They're going to come down here. We haven't beat them yet. They're 2-0 against us, so they're coming to our place, and we got to get ready to have another good contest next Friday.
Coach, we've talked offense. We've talked defense. Kenny and I discussed it this morning. How much are you guys discussing and working on special teams? That's
an everyday discussion, because that's, as you know, a third of the game. And if you don't put your focus on that, it can really bite you in the butt. So Brendan gets a lot of headlines for being a quarterback, but he's also a dang good punter and a kicker. So he does a good job of that for us. And then we're constantly evaluating, what guys can help us, which of our JV guys can play special teams. And we're just trying to win the field position battle with that. So that, it's a constant discussion.
How tough is that, Coach? The coverage teams? The return teams get all the glory because you score a touchdown on a punt return or a kick return or field goal, extra point, 2-point conversion, right? But the coverage teams on kickoff and punts, how do you determine which guys are right for that role and are going to help you not give up big yards and flip the field?
Yeah, I think first off, you're always looking for effort guys. I mean, special teams to me is all about effort. It's a 1-2. So you're looking for guys that want to be on it, that want to give you the effort. A lot of times you can find those diamond in the rough younger kids that, just want to get on the field on a Friday night. So I think that's the first thing. The second team, like you said, on those coverage teams, especially punt and kickoff, you got to be disciplined, because if you get out of your lane for 1 second, there's a seam in there's enough electric players in our county that can make you pay for that. So those are the two things I think we look for, is effort and discipline when it comes to special teams.
Absolutely. Kenny, go ahead.
No, Coach, I'm curious. This past week, a legend in Alliance passed away in Lenny Dawson. He was 87 years old, Hall of Famer with the Chiefs, led them to a Super Bowl championship, also received an award in the Hall of Fame for a broadcaster, right? So Lenny did everything. And there's this great photo of Lenny sitting in the locker room, and he's smoking a cigarette. There's a bottle of Fresca at his feet, right? The old days, right? But I remember him as a broadcaster as much as I do as a player because of my age in that. What did he mean to the city of Alliance, and how special is he, I guess, in the eyes of people there at Alliance High School?
Oh yeah, he's a very, very special alumni in Alliance City Schools. I mean, you walk up and down the halls out here, his picture and his awards and everything are everywhere. There's a big plaque that says, hey, this is a Hall of Fame high school. The practice field that we practice on and our JV team's playing on right now is Len Dawson Field. So, I mean, you go in our gym, there's a huge picture of him there. So he's everywhere. And I think what it means, to our kids is it shows that, hey, you're capable. You can make it from Alliance to go and be an NFL Hall of Famer, and you can have this distinguished career. And I think that's what our kids really relate to. And it's funny, a lot of our kids don't even know who Len Dawson is. But when that news dropped that he passed away, I had a bunch of football players stop in my class and said, hey, did you hear Len Dawson passed away? So, I mean, even though they probably never seen him play, they've never, knew who he was really as a player, they still know who he is. And when that news came out, it kind of echoed throughout the school.
And real quick, great story too, right? With the Steelers, with the Browns, didn't work out there. Hank Stram, who had him in college at Purdue, when he gets a head coaching job, he says, "Lenny, I want you to be my quarterback." And then, of course, that great Super Bowl where Hank's mic'd up, and we see it on NFL films all the time. Yee-hee! And, he's calling the play. I mean, it's so cool to have a Hall of Famer from your high school and one who was larger than life and did so many things.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of schools can't say, that they have not only an NFL Super Bowl champion but an NFL Hall of Famer.
Right.
And like I said, you walk down the trophy case and you see some of the stuff he used to wear, and there's pictures of him all over. And I think it's really a neat experience for our kids that they get to experience that when they come to school here.
Tim, what's going to be the key to maintain this level of play? Good win in week number 2, like you said. You've flipped the script, turned the page. You're on to the next one to maintain this week in and week out to get the consistency to become an above 500 team this year and a playoff team this year.
Yeah, like you said, we got to turn the page, and we just have to have a great week of preparation again. We can't be satisfied with this. So that was our message to the kids this morning, is flip the page. Let's get back to work. And like every coach is going to tell you, you got to get better week in and week out. So we got to continue to grow week 2 to week 3. We identified the things that we didn't do well last night that could give us issues moving forward. So get those addressed, have a great week of preparation, and then come out next Friday at 7 p.m. and be ready to win a football game.
What do you think the over-under? I know you don't like to look ahead. What's the over-under on maybe passes thrown when you play West Branch? Because I think we're doing that game, Coach.
Yeah, that one's going to be pretty fun. I know, maybe not for me, but that's going to be fun for the fans, because those are 2 dynamite offenses with 2 dynamite quarterbacks, and I know everyone's looking forward to that one. But like you said, we can't look past Bedford for 1 second. So I know they got a lot of weapons over there too, but we got to handle Bedford first, and we'll worry about West Branch when that gets here.
Coach, congrats on the win last night. Best of luck against Bedford. We'll see you down the road, and thanks for making time for us here on the Saturday Morning Huddle.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Tim Goodman getting the first win last night. Billy, man, talk about Caden Davis, Brendan Zerbrug. I mean, that's as good of a 1-2 punch as there is in Stark County when it comes to offenses.
No doubt. We put a lot of work in on researching players and stats and numbers, Kenny, but sometimes you just know guys before they even hit the field. Zerbrug and Davis, guys we saw do a lot of great things last year. And Zerbrug specifically, I think when you know a team's got a quarterback that can throw and run at the same time, you kind of take notice of them. We know Stark County takes notice of a guy that can pass just because a lot of guys can run. We've seen so many guys become great running backs. We've seen multiple running back systems. But when a quarterback can drop back and throw, we already talked about Green throwing 50 times, but we know Zerbrug's a guy that can keep that offense moving with the pass. No surprise there that Alliance is taking steps forward.
Yeah, good coach. Had a great time chatting with him, like I said, during the East-West All-Star game. And it's a laid-back atmosphere at the All-Star game, so you can get a little bit more out of the coaches and that. But he was pretty laid back right there. It's a big smile on his face, getting that first win. They were only 3-7 last year, and there are high expectations for the Aviators this year. So he's feeling good about himself, but his team, they know they're going to be in for a test. He said, look, we're 0-2 against Bedford. We want to beat them. That's next on the docket for us. And so they're going to have to step their game up if they want to get that win against Bedford next week.
Right. We get excited. We look ahead to the schedule and we look at different matchups. We think about Stark County and who's going to meet who when. These guys, they're focused on 1 week. They talked about Kenny. They're barely past the film of their game last night, and then they're locked in on next Friday. That's it. That's where they can set kind of their mental parameters is tunnel vision Friday. Stay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So kudos to Coach for getting the first win of the season. And, Billy, coming up here at the top of the hour, we're going to have Isaac LaFay, offensive lineman. Defensive lineman. Yeah, he'll be the first official player to join us on the Saturday Morning Huddle. O-lineman, D-lineman, kicker, right? So he's coming up from Northwest. They had a big win last night. You have the photos from because I want to bring up and I want to give a shout out to all the schools who took the challenge. We did the coaches banquet right at St. Hieronymus, and we issued the challenge because of Northwest High School. Last year we went to Northwest High School for a game, and they treated us like royalty, right? And they fed us like kings and queens last year. And so I issued the challenge this year. I said, look, Northwest was the best last year as far as press box food. So it's the WHBC Press Box Food Fight Challenge. Who would unseat Northwest? Perry did a great job. Week 1, Thursday night, the culinary arts program there at Perry, fantastic. 3737 kitchen, I think is what it is. They did a great job. Maslin, so-so. Let's be honest, a hot dog, a cookie, and a bottle of water. But hey, they provided something which was great. But we were at Northwest last night, and you're putting the picture. Run them again, man. I want to tell everyone. Okay, leave that one up. From left to right on your screen here, people, if you're watching, right? On the far left, chicken marsala. Next to the chicken marsala was the stuffed pork. No, leave that up there. Oh, there's the chicken marsala. All right, you got the individuals? All right.
Yeah.
Chicken marsala. Stuffed pork loin was next, right there, okay? And then we had honey roasted Brussels sprouts and garlic mashed potatoes for our meal. And you see some rolls over there as well. And this was all courtesy from At Your Table Cafe. Let me give the address, 565 Towpath Avenue Northwest, Unit B, Canal Fulton, 330-408-7771. 330-408-7771 At Your Table Cafe. James DeGia, Karen DeGia, they are the owners of the restaurant. Karen is the cook. James brought the food to the press box, and he's involved with the Northwest High School and the football program. And there was our dessert tray as well. Billy, okay, they were number 1 last year. They set the bar extremely high, and they are number 1 again this year through 2 weeks. All right. And so whether you got us on radio, whether you've got us on TV, whether you've got us with the streaming game, if WHBC's coming, you want to be included when we rank the top 10 at the end of the year, press box foods, I guess, right? Meals, feasts, then feed the guys. And we'll give you some love, your restaurants, your culinary arts program, whatever it is, press box food, whoever it is. But right now, Northwest at number 1, Perry right there at number 2. And we've only been in it 2 weeks. So we'll see. Next week, we're at McKinley. I have no idea what to expect at McKinley High School, if anything. We'll see. Hopefully, they take the challenge. Antonio Hall and his staff, I know they got bigger fish to fry, pun intended, because they're 0-2. They want to get a win. But, we'll see if we can get the word out there. Where are you next week with your WHBCSports.com streaming game, Billy?
I'm going to Northwest. So
You're going to Northwest. Oh, well,
I hope for the same energy.
I'll have to see if Rick Wright, let's see if they can do it 2 weeks in a row and feed you as well. But unbelievable. And the guys in the press box were like, holy cow. And we're like, hey, you're welcome. So
right.
They did a great job. And again, At Your Table Cafe in Canal Fulton. If you've never been, okay, you got to stop in. I mean, Karen, the mom, that's what he said, mom cooks. I just deliver the food, basically, is what James DeGia told us. And it was fantastic. And they cater as well as, you can go there and eat in the restaurant. So it was fantastic. So a tip of the cap from yesterday at our game. And I also want to give, I've got so many things everywhere. I want to give a shout out to the boosters, Rick Wright and the boosters right there at Northwest. They were fantastic, hooking us up with everything like that. So kudos to everybody at Northwest. We had a great time. And on top of the great food that we had, Billy, and the dessert, we had a great game last night.
Yeah.
22-14 was the final in that game as Northwest improved to 2-0 on the year. And I was impressed with the way they started. Then they faced some adversity, and then they bounced back. And they got the win at home in front of a very good crowd. And they love their Indians there in Canal Fulton at Northwest High School. And we love doing games there. So you're going to have a blast there next week, Billy.
No doubt. I love that stadium. I think their press box is terrific. As far as food
New
goes,
press box too. Yeah, it's fantastic.
right. I'm excited to check it out. I was told they might be looking at new scoreboards here soon too, so
Okay.
they're staying up to date. What I got to ask you, Kenny, after you did that game, what's the Northwest quarterback situation?
Well, there is no situation. It's Chase Badger, the sophomore, and it's, you know what? He threw 3 touchdown passes and a 2-point conversion last night in the win. So, he's their guy, and they have other guys that can play quarterback. But, John DeMarco decided, you know what? Nope, this is who I'm going with. And it's paid off to the tune to a 2-0 start for the Northwest Indians. And it's a well-rounded team. It really is. Quarterback, running back, offensive line, defensive line, the secondary with some interceptions in that last night. And let's bring in right now, Billy, our first ever player on the Saturday morning huddle here with WHBC. He's an offensive lineman. He's a defensive lineman. He's a kicker, and he's got his boys behind him as well. And we're happy to have with us Isaac LaFay from the 2-0 Northwest Indians. Isaac, congratulations on a 2-0 start to win last night. Thanks for joining us. How are you this morning?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, we appreciate you making time for us. So before we get to last night's game, what have you guys done this morning? Film study, lifting, and what'd you do this morning already?
All of the above. Lots of film. We just finished a light lift, and then we did a run down on the turf to loosen up a little bit from the game.
So a good win last night for you guys. You beat Norton in week 1, but you knew it would be a tough one against Marlington, and you jumped out to a big lead. They come back, tie it up. All of a sudden at halftime, it's a ball game when it looked like it might be a blowout. What was said in the locker room last night, Isaac, to get you guys maybe refocused and get the momentum back to get a victory?
I think the coaches were aware that we were essentially shooting ourselves in the foot. We were having personal mistakes. We had a couple turnovers on offense, and we really just needed to rally behind what we knew, what we were coached to do, each of our jobs as our positions, and really just come together as a team and fight back for the second half.
Isaac, we see on our kind of streamer down there, you're playing offensive line, you're playing defensive line, you're kicking. Do you have a favorite?
Defensive end is certainly unbeatable. The feeling of tackling someone is just phenomenal. So definitely that.
Getting after the quarterback, right? Defensive ends are getting paid these days, right? I mean, that's where the money's at, man. If you can get after guys in the NFL, not only is the money there, the glory's there as well. So a lot of times the O-line and D-line don't get a lot of hype, but it's fun when you're winning and the D-line gets some credit like that, right?
Absolutely.
Well, hey, Billy, check this out. I was looking at the stats that our stat guy, Denny, sent to us, right? It was a close game. That's because of special teams. Defensively, Isaac and his mates on defense held Marlington to 17 yards rushing is what we had them for, 75 yards passing. So under 100 yards of total offense is all they gave up. What was the key last night defensively to keeping that offense in check, Isaac?
They ran mostly run, and we practiced all week for it. We practiced for ISO, power, and counter. And we just repped that constantly, and each position knew their job, and we made sure that we had to communicate. That was super important to make sure that everyone knew which play we were running, so we knew our assignment. And really, we just had to come out and stay as a team and make sure that they didn't get any breakaways. So we had the team tackle, which is something that we definitely improved on from last week. We certainly ran to the ball and group tackled, which is super important. It'll be important next week as well.
Yeah, my game last night, Isaac, I was at Green. We saw a lot of arm tackling, just kind of putting out one arm, see if you can grab a guy. How important is it to have good form, not only for you as an individual tackler, but when you guys kind of swarm the ball as a group?
Oh, it's tremendously important. I think it's necessary, actually. But once you get into the higher level teams, arm tackling just doesn't cut it. And it's super important, especially with getting the good technique, to have the rest of the team follow through with it. Because you can have good technique and stand up a guy but not be able to get him down. So it's important for the whole team to blitz and to make sure that the guy is tackled.
All right, Billy, get the first highlight ready. We're going to have some fun with you, Isaac, all right? Since you're an offensive lineman, which position on the O-line do you play?
Right tackle.
All right, so you're on the right side, all right? Scoreless game, 2nd and 31 from your own 22-yard line yesterday, right? And here, I'm shooting video of this. I'm standing on your sidelines, right? I want you to watch this and first of all, take us through the play call in the huddle there, as it was the screen, and everything, but then the execution of it, and you'll be able to see it on the screen here from my vantage point. Go ahead, roll that, Billy, and take us through this play, Isaac, from your standpoint.
Yeah, so this was a screen right, and our running back, H-back, Connor Satterfield, he's actually right behind me. He did a great job running down the line, but I actually took the wrong gap and hit the inside instead of the blitzing linebacker. But thankfully, I was able to run back outside, and the pass wasn't messed up too much by my presence there. Thankfully, Connor was able to catch it. But I was in good position there to block. And then Caden had a phenomenal block on that receiver and opened that wide open for Connor to just go straight down the line, touchdown.
Connor, man, nice wheels. You turned on the afterburners, dude. That was a great job by you. You were coming right at me. I was worried they were going to knock you out of bounds right into me, but you didn't let them. So kudos to you on that sweet touchdown grab and run on that play. And you mentioned the blocking downfield, Isaac. That gets overlooked so much, doesn't it? Everybody has to, you hear Bill Belichick, do your job, 1 of 11. And if everybody does, you get results like that, right?
Yep.
What about this play here, Billy? This is the game winner. It's tied 14-14 in the fourth quarter. Let's see. Is this the one you have, Billy, the game winner? Yeah. Take me through this one as you guys put this in just the day before at practice, I heard. Is that right, Isaac?
Yep. And I believe the play is just Harper. So that's what the call is for. And Noah Harper, the receiver who was able to make the touchdown, that's who it's for. It was solely around him, and he ran H-back. It was just a straight pop. He was able to catch it, and he's a phenomenal athlete, so he was able to get right into the end zone for us.
Yeah,
was that flag on you guys?
Offsetting penalties.
Okay.
So no harm, no foul at that point, right? So he had a 4th and 10 touchdown grab earlier in the game, and then he gets the game winner, what turns out to be the game winner there. And he's coming off an ACL injury from a year ago. Coach told me he may not even be 100% yet. That's scary if he's not 100% yet, and he's doing that, right?
Yeah, we're excited to have him back for sure, and he's been able to do a great job for us so far. If he keeps improving, especially with his previous injury, if he keeps helping and improving his knee, getting better, that'll be huge for us later.
And how about a sophomore quarterback, Chase Badger, and the job that he's done? I know there was a battle for the job, and you guys have a number of guys that can play quarterback, but to have a sophomore in the first 2 weeks stepping in and doing what he's done, and you're off to a 2-0 start, what is it about Chase that you guys, have confidence in him as a senior class and as a team, and just what he's been capable of?
I think as a team, we've been trying to focus on unity and focus on trust in each other. And Chase has been able to step up and do a phenomenal job so far. The first 2 weeks, he's really gotten into the role and taken responsibility for it. And he knows his plays, he knows how to run it, and he takes criticism very well, and he learns from his coaches. He's very coachable, which is something that's incredibly important at the quarterback position. So he's been doing a great job for us, and hopefully we'll be able to continue it with each week.
He was our player of the game last night, Billy, by the way. Chase went 8 for 11. That's pretty good accuracy. 192 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 2-point conversion real quick. The reason he threw that 2-point conversion, you're the kicker. You kicked the first 2 extra points. You were a little cramping, I guess, is the best way to put it, right? And you guys had to go for 2.
Yep. And thankfully, the offense was able to deliver on the 2-point conversion, which was super important.
Go ahead, Billy.
Isaac, you got the guys with you there? Does playing offensive line, defense line, does that mean you're the one hitting the weight room the hardest?
No.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Who's winning the award for working the hardest in the weight room?
Definitely Jimmy Cunningham. I'll show you both.
Where's
Right
Jimmy at? Right there, right? The guns, he's showing. Hey, give me that again. Let's see him one more time. So,
Come back.
Come on back, big fella. If you're putting the time over there you go. There he is. All right, I like it, man.
I gotta say, I'm impressed that you guys all had the same answer. You guys all knew right away.
Yep, for sure. He works his butt off, and
Who's all around you? Who's all behind you? Give some love to your guys before we let you go. Who's there
everyone
behind you?
This is Kyler Maraga, the running back. Austin Wright, quarterback. We got Connor Satfield, H-back linebacker. Noah Harper, receiver. We got Landon Cross. We got receiver. Ethan Nicky. I don't know if you can see him. He's a receiver corner. We got Tony working with defensive end. We got Riley Plotner, big man back there. O-line, D-line. Owen Ryanford, O-line, D-line. And then we got everyone here. So yeah, all the varsities ready to go.
All right, here's my last question for you. We knew who the weight room warrior was. No hesitation. Let me see if the guys behind you agree on this. ACT test. Well, who's the best guy? There he is, right? I was told you got a 35 on your ACT. The highest I think you can get is 36. Where's that come from? Are you a good test taker? Is he just the smartest guy in the world, fellas, or what?
Yeah. It was a 34, but
34. Okay, 34. Yeah, there we go. Billy and I added our ACT scores together. We didn't equal 34, so you're still, hitting it out of the park on that one. Hey guys, congratulations on the win. Isaac, thanks for making time for us this morning. And I know you guys will enjoy this a little more, but a huge one next week, right, against Louisville. So this one's going to be put to bed pretty soon, right?
Oh, yeah. It's already to bed. We're on Louisville now. So now we got preparation. We have film. We need to make sure we know the keys for that and then prepare the whole week for it.
Congratulations on a 2-0 start. Best of luck against Louisville. Isaac and all the guys, thanks for joining us this morning. And we'll see you again at Northwest, all right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, outstanding. Isaac Lefay, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, kicker, and 34 on his ACT score. That's not a bad combination, right? He's going to make somebody happy at the next level as a student and as an athlete if he elects to go there. So they're off to a 2-0 start, Billy. You know who else is off to a 2-0 start? The Lake Blue Streaks. And joining us right now here on the Saturday Morning Huddle, their outstanding head coach in his 10th year. Look at that, nice and big and blue, lake across his chest. Feeling good. Dan DeGeorge joining us right now. Coach, thanks for making time for us. We appreciate it here on the Saturday Morning Huddle. Congrats on the 2-0 start. What's been the key to that 2-0 start to this point?
Yeah, appreciate you having me. We played two really good teams in Alliance and Maple Heights. We haven't turned the ball over much. We played really, really solid defense. We'd be able to hit a few long passes for us, which has opened up the running game. So I like where we're at. Still need to get a lot better, but our kids are playing hard and they're buying in and looking for ways to improve their play each week.
Coach, when you guys went into the offseason, when you sat down to kind of get everything prepared, how big of a sigh of relief of it was for you to see the same names, those guys returning, some of those seniors coming back, juniors coming back?
Sure, that's always a great thing when you have a lot of returning starters. We played a lot of young guys last year, and that showed at times. A lot of turnovers, a lot of penalties, but just getting those quality reps and game experience under your belt has been huge for us, offensive line-wise, at the quarterback spot, the receiver spot. The key, though, is having a great offseason so they come back not only with the experience, but stronger, faster, and more hungry to find a way to win.
Coach, let's go back to week one, if you will. I had 4 and 5. I do my top 10 each week, right? I had number 4 versus number 5 in that game, and whoever won was going to, move up in my rankings. 41-14 against a very good Alliance team with one of the best 1-2 punches in Zerbrugg and Davis, in the county. How were you guys able to bottle them up defensively and still put up 41 yourself on offense?
Sure. Defensively, we did a really nice job. Their quarterback is an excellent high school quarterback. I think he was 21 for 23 versus something like that. So we tried to force him to throw the underneath stuff and tackle him, not give up the big plays. We had to try to bottle up Davis. We worked hard on running to the football. Ron Viscount's my defensive coordinator, does a great job of getting our defense ready each week, and they were. And we were able to hit some big plays in the passing game, and then that opened up the run as well. So it was a good night for us. Alliance is an excellent football team. They're going to win a lot of football games.
Coach, we've talked with a couple different area coaches this week and last week. I keep hearing some light mentions, but I think we know how important it is in the trenches, the O-line, the D-line. Of course, running backs are going to get talked about, quarterbacks are going to get talked about, but coaches can't help but mention, hey, my D-line was great. Our offensive line was great, how they shifted, how they turned, how we went about the game.
No, absolutely. That's spot on. It was one thing we told our kids this morning watching film last night versus Maple Heights. We won the battle up front on both sides of the ball. It took us a while to get that going, but we eventually won it on both sides, and that was the key for us to be able to run the ball, be able to play solid defense. And when we get into the league, the Federal League, we know how tough that is. If you can win the battle of line of scrimmage, you have a chance.
Coach, how important was it for you to see how your team would respond after a big opening week win, right? All the hype in the paper, 41-14, Alliance, you beat them, you handled them. And for them to come out and be able to put that, in the back of their minds, not get too big-headed, and then respond with a 35-0 win over Maple Heights yesterday.
Yeah, you've been coaching football long enough around the game. Many coaches talk about the growth that's made from week 1 to week 2. A lot of times that's one of the most important weeks of practice. And we challenged the kids hard. We didn't let them, read the paper or talk about what was online because we're really not that good yet. We have the potential to be. And our kids responded last week. We had our best week of practice. They played that way last night. The game plan is to do that same thing again. We enjoyed the win last night, but it was back to work today and looking at the next step.
Coach, you said made the improvements from week 1 to week 2. What is something you've seen that you like and one thing you really want to see change as the season goes on?
Sure. Last week offensively, we had a really good week, particularly up front. Against Alliance, we ran the ball okay at times, but we were more blocking for 3 seconds. So we talked a lot last week about every play needs to be 6 seconds, and our linemen started buying into that. Last night we turned the ball over twice, and we need to make sure we clean that up. We can't afford to do that and still win football games moving forward. So we'll concentrate on that a lot this week.
Cal Jarvis at quarterback, how important is he to your team this year, Coach? A senior, somebody that has experience, and I'm guessing you feel you can count on him no matter the situation or how much pressure is in his face.
Sure. Kale's actually a junior, but he's doing a great job for us. We threw him to the wolves last year as a sophomore, started all 11 games for us as a sophomore, and made a huge jump in the offseason, got stronger, got faster. Is understanding the game, studied a lot of film. He was 5 for 5 last night. We only threw the ball 7 times. Our other quarterback, Will Butler, who's doing a great job as well. We're playing them both, alternating series. They both have bought into it. Our quarterback play has been huge. We also brought in Mark Gulling, who was a former head coach at Marlington. He's helping us out with quarterbacks on the offensive side, so that's been a really nice addition for us as well. Blessed to have a really good staff, but our quarterbacks have done some really nice things. Need to keep finding ways to get better, and we'll do that.
My bad. Solberger, the running back's your senior. He's your go-to guy on the ground as well.
Sure.
His role in that offense, how important is he to balance that passing attack with the running game?
Absolutely. We want to run the football. There's no secret to that. And Matthew has gotten progressively better each year. He's learning how to be okay with that 4 or 5 yard gain, which ultimately keeps our offense on the field. It moves the chains. It keeps the other team's offense on the sidelines, which is really what we want to do. We love scoring long plays, but if we can go on a 12, 14-play drive where we're running it 12 times, that's where we want to live for sure. And Matthew's tough. He's one of the hardest runners we've had, continues to get better each week.
Coach, we get to highlight players. We get to talk to you. Talk a little bit about your staff. I know you mentioned Coach Gulling. I wanted to get to that, but I know you've got a lot of guys working for you. You have coordinators, you have position players. Talk about what those guys are doing to help your success.
Sure. Again, blessed with a very good staff. A lot of guys have been with me my duration as head coach. Most of them, either teach or went and played at Lake previously. On the defensive side, Ron Viscount, who's been around forever, was defense coordinator under Coach Durbin for many years, head coach at Copley. He's our DC, puts tons and tons of time into it. One of the best coaches I've ever been around. So he runs our defense and does a great job of that, along with J.R. Supis and Coach Joe Anderson. And offensively, Frank Palatos, my offense coordinator, does a great job getting us prepped, along with Mark Gulling, Bob Sachs, and Scott Tripp, our offensive line coaches, and then Miguel Hunt works wide receiver. So great group of guys, put tons and tons of time in that a lot of people don't see behind the scenes in our meetings, at home, at night, during the week. So blessed to have a really good group working with me.
Coach, some guys might not want to bring in former head coaches, a little worried maybe about their job security or whatever, but you've done it in the past. We did the game last night at Northwest a few years ago when he was let go at Louisville. You had Coach DeMarco on your staff. What is it about your approach to that where you want to bring in those minds and be part of your staff for however long it might be?
Sure. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, we're not going to have much success, right? I'm no dummy there. So finding guys that, first of all, love and want to be around kids and are good influences on kids is the first thing. And then guys that really love football and want to coach football and do it the way that we like to do it, I welcome that. So, again, Coach DeMarco years ago, the day I found out he wasn't returning to Louisville, I called him that night and offered him a job for sure. And we miss him, and I'm glad he's doing well. Best of luck to him. But, yeah, Coach Gulling actually lives in Uniontown. His son just started kindergarten, so it's a nice fit. He's right there locally. His family lives there. Kids are going to go to Lake, so it's been a really nice fit.
So I'm counting the years. Kindergarten, let's say, will you still be there? You're hoping to still be there, right?
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, we'll see. You never know, right? No, there's no other place I'd rather be, that's for sure.
Coach, what's it going to take this year? 5-5 last year, right? And what's it going to take for you guys this year to better that record, be a playoff team, and continue this momentum, this run that you're on right now?
Yeah, and that's no secret. That's what we want. We want to win a lot of football games, and we want to go on a long playoff run. And obviously getting better every day and practicing hard and learning from your mistakes is a key to that. Putting a lot of time in. And then the other thing is you got to have the ball bounce your way. You got to try to avoid some major injuries, which unfortunately at this point we haven't. We got some guys banged up. Our all-around best player, Ty Miller, hasn't played in a game yet. We're hoping to get him back week 4 or 5. We lost a couple guys last night. Unfortunately, that other guys are just going to have to step up. So the key is having your backup guys ready. It's the one thing about this game I don't like is the injuries that happen to the kids that you love. And you hate to see that. You hate to see kids not be able to play and be involved in something that they love. But so staying healthy is a huge part of it. And then not turning the ball over and, again, avoiding penalties, all those things that good quality teams do. You just have to consistently do that every Friday night.
We call it the FIPS, Billy. I don't know if you know what the FIPS are. Coach knows. Fumbles, interceptions, penalties. The FIPS drive coaches absolutely crazy along with injuries. Right, Coach?
Absolutely. That is spot on.
Yeah, no question. All right, real quick before we let you go, I'm looking at your schedule. Akron East this week. You're at home again. What can you tell us real quick about them? What's it going to take for you guys to start 3-0?
Yeah, they're real similar to our first 2 opponents. Very, very athletic. East has some very big and active linemen on both sides of the ball, so we got to win the battle in the trenches. The key for us will be, like you just mentioned, not turning the ball over. Forcing them into some turnovers and some penalties. If we play a real clean game on our end, win that special teams battle, which is huge for us, that was a big help last night for us, then we got a chance. If we come out sloppy and don't take care of the football, they can take it to us because they have some really good athletes that can run. Victory bell was rung last night, correct? It was, yes, definitely. Yeah, first home win of the season, hopefully not the last. 2-0 start. And I'll give everybody a little sneak peek at Ken's top 10 this week. Your Lake Blue Streaks, I'll just say this, they're going to be in the top 3 this week in Ken's top 10 as we release that Monday morning. Coach, congratulations on the great start. Keep it going. We'll talk to you down the road, and thanks for joining us here on the Saturday Morning Huddle. Thank you. Appreciate what you guys do. Rock 'em. There we go. Love that guy, man. 10 years now at Lake. 10 years. Longest tenured coach. Scotty Garcia, yeah, he's been at,
Glen Oak for a number of years, right? But he took a hiatus. He was off
Right,
for a couple of years, 10 straight years, longest tenured coach in Stark County that we cover, Billy. So I'm happy for Dan DeGeorge, and I hope they can continue, to have a great season like this. We've seen them start fast in the past, but then they get into the rigors of the Federal League, right? Week in and week out. And like he said, the injuries pile up and everything. So I'm curious to see if they can maintain this throughout the year.
Yeah, Coach had a comment there. You guys talked about the FIPS, and he talked about that's something he wanted to get corrected. I was at a game for them last year, Kenny. They could not commit a penalty on the run. So it's great to see this season. That's one thing that he's emphasized them. He's corrected. And if you're going to run the ball, false starts, holding can't happen. We saw it a little bit last night in my game, but Lake, it's great to see Coach DeGeorge putting an emphasis on we're not going to commit penalties. We know how much it can hurt us, and obviously that's contributing to the 2-0 success.
And we talk about FIPS, fumbles, interceptions, penalties, right? I was just texting with the guys who did the game, the Alt Care TV game of the week last night. Louisville loses 21-10? They lose to Poland Seminary last night. They lose by 11 points. They fumbled the ball 6 times. Derek Philo just, I texted him, starting with the fumble on the first play of the game. 6 fumbles. Troy Davis had to be, does he have any hair left today? I don't know. Because you fumble 6 times, you're not going to win. I don't care who you are. And they lost by 11 points. They're 0-2, Louisville. But 6 turnovers like that, 6 fumbles, you can't do that.
No, absolutely not. And Green threw 1 interception last night, and I felt like that was the game. I felt like, oh, man, the 1 turnover is going to make the difference. You talk about it, 6 fumbles. Can't do it, but I'll have Louisville next week. They'll be at Northwest, so interested to see if that's something they put an emphasis on all week long at practice.
Let's roll on the bottom of the screen the week 3 games. We want to remind everybody there are 2 more week 2 games taking place today. Perry is taking on Clarkson from Ontario, Canada at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. That's a 2 p.m. start today, all right? And Canton South has a home game against Claymont. They had to reschedule. The previous team, for whatever reason, they're out. So Claymont on the schedule, 7 o'clock tonight. Canton South 0-1. Looking to get their first win of the season. Coach Dennison and the Wildcats. Perry 1-0, looking to go to 2-0 for Zach Slates. But there are the games for next week in our game. And I'll be curious. We're going to try and get him on the Kenny and JT show this week. Antonio Hall, he's not pushing the panic button. Long way to go, right? They started 0-2 last year, the Bulldogs. But you want to turn this around sooner rather than later. And week 3 was when they turned it around last year. So Antonio Hall, hopefully will be on the Kenny and JT show this week. We'll talk to him, preview that game as they get to play at home for the first time, but it's Dublin Kaufman, and they're a pretty good football program. And Mentor, Austintown Fitch, Dublin Kaufman, and then you start up after that with Perry in the Federal League the following week. So that's as tough of a 3-game start to a season that anybody's going to play in Stark County.
Completely agree, and we know Massillon kind of had the same situation. They know how good their schedule is going to be. Now, they caught Glen Oak in week 2, but Massillon may get to a midpoint and be in the same spot as McKinley just because of how their schedules are. However, I'm interested to hear that interview, Kenny, because what is the key to getting this team back on track? Is there something major that they haven't done yet, that they keep doing, that they need to eliminate? Everybody make sure to tune into that because I know that'll be a great interview.
Rick Worstel pointed it out to me. He said, look, statistically at Mentor, they won most of the statistical categories, but mistakes, penalties, turnovers, you can't have those. The FIPS, you just can't have those, especially against better teams. You don't want them against anybody, but against teams that are your equal or better than you, you can't afford to have, the FIPS and lose the turnover battle, lose the penalty war. You just can't do that.
No, and that'll go into coaching and that'll go into the actual players on the field. So those 2 aspects, you're going to see that come alive Friday, hopefully, if McKinley can kind of clean those 2 things up.
And you're seeing across the bottom of the screen, start it with the first page, Billy. The games next week, Bedford Alliance, we've talked about that one. There's the Kaufman at McKinley game. We'll be doing the Pro Football Hall of Fame game of the week. East Canton looking for their first win. Glen Oak against Fitch. Fitch did a number on McKinley. South Range and Central. That's going to be a tough one for Trucker. Fairless looking to go 3-0. Green and Talmadge. I left the N off. My bad. Lake against Akron East. And then we look at these games. Hoover looking to get above 500. Melbourne hosting Waterloo. Massillon at Mansfield. That'll be a tough one for the Tigers. Jackson at Boardman. Louisville at Northwest. You'll have that. WHBCSports.com streaming game of the week. Marlington looking to get their first win under Coach Morrow. And Minerva at Beaver Local. And then rounding it out, St. Thomas 0-2 looking for win number 1. Tuslaw 1-1 against Tusky Valley. Perry and Euclid, we'll see what Perry does today. So those are games next week that we'll be covering. And then that'll happen on Friday night. And then we'll do this all over again on Saturday morning, because that's why it's called the Saturday Morning Huddle, right?
Absolutely. We'll get the guests. We'll be on talking to you about our players of the week, what happened. The big one, Kenny, the one we want to see, who's snagging their first win. I think by week 3, that's a huge motivation, a huge kind of dangling carrot that these teams need to get is, can we snag our first win? And I'll be interested to talk with the coaches how big a deal that is in their locker rooms when you grab win number 1 after, certainly you want to grab it in the first 2 weeks, but once you get to week 3, it becomes the talk of not necessarily what did we do in the offseason or what are we looking at this season, but can we get that first win?
Congratulations to the WHBC Player of the Week. Could have went to a number of guys, right? We could have gave it to Chase Badger from Northwest. 3 touchdown passes, a 2-point conversion. The sophomore helped Northwest get the win. But look at those numbers right there. Zach Baglia, the bag man. He bagged them last night, 13 receptions, 200. Does that say 27? It does, Billy. It's 277 yards, not 227. It's 277.
And that's on me,
Baglia, and 4 touchdowns for him. So he's our WHBC Player of the Week. Congratulations to him. And we want to thank all of our guests today. Jeff Lindesmith, head coach at Central Catholic, joined us. They got their first win. Trucker, thanks for coming on the Saturday Morning Huddle. Mark Geis, Green, they're off to a 2-0 start. Tim Goodman got their first win at Alliance. They're 1-1. Isaac LaFay and all his boys, right? The entire team from Northwest joined us as Northwest is off to a 2-0 start. And Dan DeGeorge, they're 2-0 at Lake, and he joined us as well. A lot of fun in week number 2. Looking forward to being with you again next week, Billy.
No doubt. I'm excited. We'll get another great guest list for everybody. I like the player aspect, Kenny. We get the players in here and talk with them, and we'll take that week by week too, see who we can get on here and talk a little more than they get to as usual. We weren't expecting the other guests that we got with Isaac LaFay, but that was fun.
Love it. Oh, hey, they knew the smartest guy in that room was Isaac LaFay with that 34 on his ATC score, but I loved how they knew who the weight room warrior was too, who pounds the iron more than anybody there. So that's fun. We'll try and get as many players on as the coaches will let us. We hope you enjoy what we call the Saturday Morning Huddle. We'll do it each and every Saturday morning, recapping what you love the most in Stark County, and that's high school football. Billy, have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week. All right, bud?
You too, partner. Thanks, everybody.